then this weekend, club football returns, and one of the finalists in the 2017 Nigeria FA Cup, Akwa United, would breeze into Lagos on Friday ahead of their matchup against Niger Tornadoes at the Agege Township Stadium. Akwa United reached the final of the Federation Cup following a 3-2 aggregate win over Sunshine Stars of Akure. It is the second time in 2 years they have reached the final of the Nigerian FA Cup. Akwa won the FA Cup in 2015 after defeating Lobi Stars 2-1. And joining us to preview the FA Cup matchup is former editor of Sporting Sun and sports historian. Of course, he's the editor of Sports Village Square. Of course, if you've seen Village Square movies, villagesquare.com, yeah, that's the sports editor. Kunle Sholaja is here with us. Glad to have you join us, editor.
Good morning, Solo. How are you?
Very, very fine. The FA Cup is here upon us again, but then I wonder, is there any expectation you have for this year's FA Cup when you compare it with the history of the FA Cup in Nigeria? Well, now they say it's the ITO Cup.
ITO Cup, yeah. Well, the expectations are very high, but unfortunately they are not being met, I must confess to you. Year in, year out, we are told that the glamour of the old Challenge Cup will be brought back, but it appears every year the glamour is just waning and waning. So that is the situation. One would have expected that with this new dispensation, the ITO Cup, is now an opportunity to actually now kickstart a new era. To me, there's been no activation other than the press conference that announced the creation of ITO Cup. I would have expected activation here and there, especially in Lagos, which is the host of the final competition. I'm sure if you go into the streets now, ask some people what big event is happening in Lagos on Sunday, most are likely to tell you they are not aware. So to me, that's a big minus. The activation has not been very, very effective.
Will that have anything to do with the fact that it is not the known teams, the traditional teams? It is not Shooting Stars, it's not Rangers, well, it's not even stationary stores, or even maybe Heartland, who had played as the Wayao National, or the traditional teams, Bendel Insurance and the rest of them?
Yeah, a lot of things went into it. I remember, when the national draws were made, I made a comment that you don't put all the teams in one pot. In every competition, there is what is called seeding. And an FA Cup everywhere in the world is meant to accommodate all sorts of teams, both amateur, professionals, and the elite clubs. But you do what is called seeding to sustain the interest in that competition. Even in the World Cup, when the 32 teams have emerged, they will still seed to sustain the interest in that competition. They avoid a situation where all the big teams will meet at the preliminary stage, and by the time they knock one another out, they will have they will have sapped their energy, and before you know it, 1 or 2 matches, the remaining big team in that competition is out. Then you now have the rookies, and that will diminish the interest in that competition. In this particular competition, of the 20 Premier League sides, I think 16 or 18 qualified. In that 18, in the first round, 8 of them met. So which means, 12 of them met, which means in that first round, 16 top teams are doomed for elimination, which is a wrong process. We will have seeded the Premier League sides so that probably most of them should have even started in round 2. So by that time, it is now, the boys will have been, separated from the men. But that was not done. That seeding procedure was a major factor whereby we now have lesser known teams now making it to the final. So that was one major error that was made, and I hope by next season that will be corrected.
Well, you pointed out that this is the third time Aqua United is getting into the finals.
No, Niger Tornadoes.
Niger Tornadoes.
Yeah.
But the records don't clearly spell that out. Will that be another failure by the Football Federation itself?
Well, it's a failure by the Football Federation. It's a failure on the part of we journalists, and it's a failure on part of anybody that has interest in sports, especially because in this, our own environment, record keeping is one of the least attractive venture for people. Even if you look at the list of past winners of our National Cup, which changed from the Governor's Cup to Challenge Cup to FA Cup to Federation Cup and now to ITO Cup, you will see they are dotted yearly with wrong results. For instance, now, the year 1947, the always quoted to be, I think, Railway and Marine or so. Whereas
Marine versus Lagos Railway.
Yeah,
that's what's on the record here.
Whereas it is Railway versus ZAC Ibadan, Zik Athletic Club of Ibadan. What is being brandished every year is the final match of the Lagos version of it. When a winner emerges from Lagos, then all the other regions, they call them divisions then, or township teams, they've now come to Lagos to play the national final. So, but if you go through most of the records, what we have is the winner, the result of the Lagos final and not the national final.
Now, that's Marine versus Lagos Railway, 3-1.
3-1, yeah. That's not so. It is ZAC Ibadan, Zik Athletic Club of Ibadan. Zik had clubs all over Lagos.
And it must be pointed out that Zik Athletic Club won the very first FA Cup, known as the War Memorial Challenge Cup in 1942.
Yeah, the War Memorial. Zik was a very passionate sports personality. And I think he's the only person I know that has practiced virtually every division of sports, from being a referee to an active player to a sports journalist to a sports editor, and everything you can think about in sports. Zik has had his hands in it. So when he had his ZAC, which is Zik Athletic Club, it also has this division. You have the lawn tennis division, you have the football division, you have the athletics division, and so on. And it's on record that the World Stadium was first used by Zik in Nigeria when he had his famous Yaba Stadium. In those days, football fields are just known as ground. The Onikon Stadium then used to be known there as Association Ground before it became KGV, and then the Lagos City Stadium, then Onikon Stadium. We don't know what it will be next year when
New Onikon Stadium, that's what it's going to be.
When that one is completed. So, but back to what we are saying. The ITO Cup itself, I should have thought that the NFF, which is the owner of the competition, they didn't manage it well. One, the name itself is insular.
Okay, we'll talk this more after this break.
Okay.
It is still sports on TVC Breakfast with me, Solomon Ajuzugu. We're talking about the Nigerian FA Cup, known as the ITO Cup. And well, let's hope we get fireworks in this final. But then the final is holding at Agege Stadium. This is a very small stadium, 4,000 capacity. Is that a proper place to take it? Somebody says it's like a death blow on the FA Cup itself.
It is. Because everywhere in the world, the National Cup, the FA Cup, the Federation Cup, whatever name you call it, is a showpiece of that association. A lot of glamour is attendant to it. And then taking it to one of the smallest stadiums in Nigeria is a disservice to that competition. If it is to be hosted in Lagos, we have the Teslim Balogun Stadium there that has been hosting it in the past 4 or 5 years. Should have taken it there. And for logistic reasons too, the Agege Stadium is too compact and actually emerged in between a market, housing estate, and all this. So crowd control may be a problem. That's one. Then two, the stadium is so small, but I later learned that it's because they want a place where which is compact, which can be easily be filled with crowd. But still taking it to that place still sound very foul in my ears, because if you have taken it to Teslim Balogun, even if you feel that the two teams playing the final cannot attract crowd, there are events that you can create to draw crowd to that stadium. You make it a showbiz. You have popular musicians. You have other shows that will have been part of that final match. Then you could have, even on the week of that final match, you could have a road show. You could have trophy tour. I guess we may be having a new trophy.
Well, I guess they will have to pay you for this consultancy if they didn't think about this. But I guess that's the way we'll end it today. The editor of Sports Village Square, Mr. Kunle Sholaja, it's good to have you on TVC Breakfast.
Thank you, Solo. It's always a pleasure to be here.
Right. Well, that will be all of sports this morning, but the breakfast show has not ended.